Welcome to using the CUNY Black Male Initiative Student Support Assessment. We're going to talk about it in 3 phases, and so we can show how we can implement this on your campus. First phase is the need. We already know that Black and Latinx males have different needs than the general student. They are typically the lowest performing students at the CUNY campus. So we did a comparison of 2 students that had the same SAT scores as well as the same financial need to see what the differences were in their performance. So we did a comparison between a pseudonym Marcus Smith versus Eric Jackson, and we saw that one student, Marcus, had very little support system, grew up in foster care, was college discouraged, low college cultural understanding. His 3 closest friends were outside of college, as well as being considered a sellout for going to college. Whereas Eric had strong support systems, grandparents and parents who went to college, high college cultural competency, as well as 3 closest friends in college, and had a commitment to finishing college. So these 2 students had different needs that are outside the classroom. We know that every student has financial aid needs and academic needs, but what we're missing is the most important part, the non-cognitive assessment. And that's what the CUNY BMI CSSA does for us. It helps us figure out what are the needs outside of the classroom. So I'm going to take you through this next 15 to 20 minutes, a little overview of how it works, and I'm going to give you some systems so you can understand how to implement this on your campus. So with the need, there are 5 key factors that we will measure in this assessment. Number 1, family and cultural environment. That means if the student has a high score in this assessment, that means they have a structured, stable background. If they have a low score, they probably have less structure and less stability in their background. So some sample questions for this area include, was the student a single parent from a single parent home or 2-family home? What was the parent's educational background for the student? How often was the school checked homework for that student? How much TV did that student watch per week? How much time did that student spend on social media, and so forth. The second category is current life stability and strength of support system. So a high score indicates that the student had really strong supports and stability at home, where the low score indicates they actually had very little support at home. So some of those sample questions include, was the student's marital status, current living arrangement, what was the parent's role in their life, did they have additional support systems, and who was checking on that educational progress for that student. The third factor, college preparation. A high score indicates that that student had mental, social, cultural preparation for college. A low score indicates that they did not have that. So some of the sample questions include, was college discussed when they were younger? Was college discouraged or encouraged growing up? Was the family college graduates? Did they ever visit a college campus before they got to the campus? The fourth factor, personal commitment to educational pursuits, or what we call grit in the field. And so a high score indicates that the student has a high commitment to completing college. The low score indicates that if a student was offered a high-paying job, they probably likely would not finish college. So some of the sample questions in that category include, when did that student complete their FAFSA? When did they finally decide to go to college? If they're offered a decent paying job, would they finish college or would they take the job? And finally, how essential is obtaining a college degree to actually that student completing their life's goals? The final factor is identifying possible cultural transitional barriers. This is important because a high score indicates that there might be significant ethnical or culturally related factors that prohibits that student from really getting involved in college. A low score indicates that they might be ready for college. So, for example, some of those questions in that category include, do your families or friends consider you a sellout for going to college? Are you uncomfortable in environments where you might be the only person of color at the college? How important is having staff or faculty of color to you? How diverse are your group of friends? Did you grow up having family or friends who identify with college life? So these are the 5 factors that we are measuring in the need for the CSSA, the CUNY BMI Student Support Assessment. Okay, for the second section, we're going to talk about the process. How does it actually work? First, I want you to watch this quick video that's about a 5-minute, 15-second long video about the actual questions and the process of the student taking the assessment. Watch this now. Hello, and welcome to a whole new era of college student support at the City University of New York. My name is Sean.
Hello, and congratulations on completing the CUNY Black Male Initiative Student Services Assessment today. My name is Dr. Ronald Jackson, and I am the Vice President for Student Affairs at Brooklyn College. My commitment is to ensure that the survey you completed today helps us better serve you in two specific ways. First, we want to understand your strengths and connect you with leadership opportunities and a student mentor at Brooklyn College through the Black and Latino Male Initiative, Brooklyn College Bound, or the Adult Literacy Center. Secondly, we will follow up with you to better understand the challenges you face outside of the classroom and connect you to the right resources for your specific needs.
Okay, now you've watched the process of how the assessment actually works and how the student takes it and answers about 104 questions. Now we're going to talk about the scoring, how it actually works. Once the student is done taking the assessment, we score based on an overall score as well as the scores that are related specifically to the individual salient factors that I mentioned earlier. So there will be scores that are given, and the assessment will be given, the scores will be given to the BMI director directly so they can see how the student has done in each of the categories. Once the student has completed the assessment, we find out what the needs are, again, outside the classroom, that the students might need to have addressed on day one of them coming to school. The best part about this entire assessment process is that it's not a deficit-based process. It's an anti-deficit-based process, which means that if a student scores really high on the assessment, we give them leadership opportunities on day one. If they score really low, then we know how to address their needs and get them to the right student support service office on day one. The best part about this entire thing. So after the Mad Lib story is completed, we're able to actually find out what their story is and get in touch with them and set up a 15 to 20 minute consultation with each student in the BMI office with their director or the mentors who are going to help find out what their needs are and get them on the right track from day one of them getting involved with BMI. The best part about this is that we've already seen an increased usage of services at Brooklyn College when we began doing this about a few months ago. And we're excited that every project is about to add it on to their campus so that we can now be able to see the impact of having more Black and Latinx male students involved in the process. So basically, to wrap up the way it works, the students will take the survey. They have to have completed a proper email address in order for it to advance. They can put their preferred email address in it, but it will not advance without the survey having the IMPL ID and the preferred email address, which is great. Because we'll have the IMPL IDs for all the students who are actually going into the survey, that means that it's going to pre-populate the demographic area before we move on, and then the students can take the survey right away. If they don't complete it right away on the first sitting, since the survey takes about 20 minutes long, then they can complete it whenever they come back to it. So it will stop, save the information, and come back to it. The greatest part about it also is that they will be reminded every Monday and Thursday for about 2 to 3 weeks until they complete the survey. So we encourage the students to take it. If they don't finish it, they'll be reminded until that 3-week period is over, and then we will stop the survey and then send the tabulation of results to the BMI director. Okay, the third and final step is the process. How do we actually implement this on the campus? This is how we do it. So basically, we get IMPL ID from the registrar office. That would be the BMI director's responsibility to work with the VP of Student Affairs and get the college's permission to go ahead and get IMPL IDs for all Black and Latinx males on the campus. Then, once we get that information, we work through Qualtrics, which is the analytical software that supports the survey. Qualtrics will automatically input the IMPL IDs into the survey so we can automatically administer the survey onto the campuses. We will use the BMI director's email as a contact for addressing the survey and sending it out to the students. So when the students get an email to be invited to take the survey, it looks like it's coming from the BMI director directly. So when the student responds to the email, it will go to the BMI director directly. Also, all correspondence from that point on will be between that BMI director for that campus, for that project, directly to the student who took that survey. My job on the back end is to make sure there's support, you're getting your findings, and you're getting basically the numbers of people who are getting the survey and who are completing it, but you help with making sure that the students are getting communicated with and followed up with. Another step that you have to take is also to make sure that you're on the same page with all the student support services available on your campus. So for instance, at Brooklyn College, our VP Jackson was able to have a meeting with all the student support services directors, make sure they were tracking the number of people who are using their services, and make sure that they were on the same page, understanding that when the assessment goes out, there's going to be an influx of new students who want to use their services because of the findings of the assessment. So it's your job to make sure you're on the same page with student support services so they understand that Black and Latinx males will be joining BMI, and they will be also getting onto the campus, onto your student support services and saying, hey, I might need tutoring, I might need housing, I might need a Metro card, I might need support in some way. If we get an influx of students who need support and it's more than we expected, that's the best problem we can possibly have, because it'll allow us to ask for more funding with BMI centrally so we can support you better as we're serving more than 20,000 Black and Latinx males in the next couple of years through this assessment. So we're excited about that process. Basically, what happens is now after the students have completed the survey, they will meet with you or the BMI director, as I mentioned earlier, or the mentor to be able to go over their findings, get the right proper supports, join BMI as a mentor or mentee, and then obviously get support along the way. we've created a couple different ways to support those students as they've come along. We have a log process where students can be checked in on those 5 salient factors we mentioned, and we can have a conversation with those students at least 3 times per semester so we know the students are getting the proper support along the way. And also finally, we have an implementation timeline that we will send to you through the PowerPoint presentation so you can know how to implement it and what the timeline should be for that. So along the way, as we finish that, the last 2 pieces are that we will send you a regression analysis and a relational analysis. The regression analysis is basically a Qualtrics method to show the compilation and the correlation between students' questions that were most salient and most important for them. Some students might have high tutoring needs or high financial needs about consistent access to food or books or Metro cards. And it'll show that correlation between that, those most important questions, and their overall score. And then the relational analysis will show the importance between their most important questions for themselves on their own survey. So for instance, some people might have an actual correlation between their need for books and their need for tutoring. If they have no books and they have a high need for tutoring, we'll see the correlation and be able to make sure that the students get both books as well as tutoring. That helps us to be able to create lending libraries within the BMI office and access to supports in other ways that maybe we didn't think of before. So we'll send that in an Excel file to you so you can make sure you see the findings a few weeks after the survey is done. We will also send an assessment to all those who completed the survey so that the students who completed it, we can find out if they've been followed up with by you in the office. And then finally, we'll send you an Excel file with the completed list of students who've completed the survey, and we will have a column that says, have you followed up with each student? Then you'll be responsible to check off that box for each student who's been followed up with and send that back to us at the end of the process. Then it's up to your discretion how you want to use that information. You might want to be able to create some more socio-emotional programming around the questions that have the most needs for your campus. So if there's a lot of students with academic needs or with food source needs or tutoring needs or book needs, you can actually create some now more academic-based programming or some more tutoring support programming, or have someone from your campus who is already in those categories come and visit your BMI project and do some workshops for you. So we hope this is comprehensive for you. We hope it makes sense. We've created this video for you in order for you to see it before we have our meeting so that you know how we're going to support you along the way as we roll out this assessment over the next few months. So we're excited for you. We can't be more excited about how BMI is growing, and we're excited to support you along the way as the assessment unfolds and we begin to support more Black and Latinx men at the CUNY BMI campus. Take care.